Viewer discretion is advised.
Like the word impossible, everyone understands it as like you can't do it. But if you add a yet at the end of that definition, it changes how you perceive anything that's impossible.
Mandate.
Hey, welcome to Mandate, where we navigate fresh perspectives and nothing is off the table. Tonight's guest house all the way from the promised land, 274, also known as Otara, but also known as the home of the brave. Well, most, I guess you could say, Wymondley to be exact.
Yeah, man.
Wymondley. And the man is a freelance actor and a dancer. And so he's done some film already in TV as well. So he's recently on Doc Rockers, also on the Panthers. And I think he did a feature film with... one of the Usos in terms of the Baron of Toa.
Yeah.
The Baron of Toa.
Yeah.
Also, the man has done, in terms of dance, it's called Atelier Ole Crescent.
Yeah.
And also, the man has a few projects in the pipeline, but more so, the man does something called Creative Wednesdays. And so the man will kind of elaborate more on that as we dive into the conversation. But before that, please put your hands together for the amazing and the illustrious Villa Lemanu.
That was our entrance for days. Yo, thank you too. Yo.
Malo love Uso. Hey, thank you so much for coming tonight, Us. Just off the battles, before we kind of really get into the conversation, Brian, just tell us what you've been up to, man, because you're a busy man, and tell us some of the projects or some of the things already on Duck Rockers. Tell us how that panned out and how are things panning out for you, Us.
Yo, thank you, Uso. Yeah, man, a lot. Hey. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, like this year, especially, it's just been filming since probably like April. I managed to, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say some of the stuff, but I'll tell you anyway. All good. But so I was filming a TV series earlier this year called Far North, which I think is going to come out sometime next year, hopefully. And then straight after that, jumped onto Duck Rockers, which is just released. So I think that's weekly. And from there, yeah, just a few other gigs. Jumped on a web series called Inky Pinky Ponky as well. Amongst all of that, I just got sort of co-signed to a team called Project Team, who do a lot of street style dances, a lot of battle events as well, just to keep me active in the dance space. But yeah, man, and project wise, that's kind of like a lot of what's been taking up my time recently. But yeah.
Ooh,
that and many more things that I'm kind of just like jotting down at the back of my head.
Oh man, busy man, busy young blood, man.
Trying to, man.
Yo, hey man, thanks for coming on. Also, it's cool to see a young cat on here, and our a lot of our viewers may know you and may not know you, but they're gonna know you. So you remember this team that we had Villa Lemanu here on Mandate, and when he blows up, man, we're gonna. Yeah, just give him his flowers now, and we just remember Otara to the world, they say to the world. And yeah, bro, it's cool to have you on, and I can't wait to chop it up in terms of like what makes you tick. And
yo, keen.
Yeah.
Nah, I appreciate it heavy, like yeah. I know where I'm at. It's a weird one where like I know where I'm at. Like I know I'm emerging to a lot of people. It's that weird thing of like people don't see you till your 10th year of being in it. So for me, it's just like, I understand where I'm at. Yeah. But yeah, I'm steady working, man, and been working, you know? So yeah, just continuing that grind, eh?
That's cool. And shout out to Wesley Aumau.
Yo!
Dragon Wes, who nominate the young buck over here. And there's people that know, you know, like you're the emerging star, but you've been working. And there's, people from the area that know that you've been working, and so then won't be surprised when you do blow up. And hopefully, when you do take off, this humble kid we see before us keeps that same energy. We know you will, because you such a humble man.
Appreciate it, eh?
Yeah.
Hopefully, I mean, I wouldn't be still in it if that's not the aim. So like, I just keep working to kind of get there, not just for myself, but I guess for everyone's that sort of like supported me throughout the way. I feel like that's a waste of support if I just stop now. So keen.
Also, what does it mean for you to be from Wymondley? Like,
like for me, I'm mad proud, and really grateful. I feel like a lot of who I am and a lot of how I see the world is because I come from Wymondley. yeah, what's cool for me is like I always thought of myself as like a real South Side dude, because like I was in between. Wymondley's like in between Otara, Pep, and Urahu. It's like sort of that middle point. So I was like, oh man, this is like real South Side, man. Like, you know what I mean? I'm a Hati Wymondley, Wymondleyan, I guess. But yeah, for the longest time, the community that I was sort of raised up in was like Hati. A lot of us were Samoans. A lot of us went to the same church. So the community that I grew up in Wymondley was really, for me, it was real vivid. It was real adamant. Like, it was real solid. And yeah, it's weird leaving there, kind of going to the city, and then kind of like realizing that, I don't know, people thought of us as like minorities, as sort of islanders, which just crack up to me, because my whole life I've never felt like a minority, because everyone that I've been surrounded with and all of the culture and the people, it was a majority to me. So it was a cool little for the time of me growing up, it was a cool little shell of like this world. But yeah, man, I have a lot of great memories from Wymondley, man. A lot of crack up ones, but it's definitely made me who I am. And yeah, I feel like anyone that understands a sort of community like that, like I'd say Otara is very much like that, you know. That's something to cherish, eh? Like, that's something to be grateful for. Yeah.
But like in terms of, like you said, you're from Otara, proud Otara, Wymondley. Yeah. And so you said like kind of like a shell, in terms of culture. You kind of like, you felt like you were the minority. Yeah. You were like, okay, this is all my people, the Pacifica and Māori. But like, because you're living out in Central now, eh? Or city,
yeah,
city now.
City now. Yeah.
So how was it? How's it been for you in terms of kind of getting out of the hood or South Auckland and kind of experiencing different areas of New Zealand or Auckland, so to speak? So did you kind of still take the same energy, like you kind of, or was it kind of quite hard to kind of assimilate or mix with the different areas,
I know what
different
you
suburbs?
mean, because it's like you can feel it when you leave. Like, you're not like a fish out of water, but like I think as everyone that's kind of grown up out south, we turn into like a certain sort of like unapologetic person. You know, there's a certain energy of people when you come out from out south, and going into somewhere like the city, I don't know, man, I just didn't care. Like, I was always myself, you know, like, and I always aim to be myself, because if I feel like I can't, then I don't like the feeling of not being who I am. So yeah, even now, even though I'm in the city, man, I still rip the south, you know what I mean? I was still from the south, like, can't take the boy out the hood and expect him to change.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I don't know if you've experienced it, because sometimes you get someone out there and they're like, oh man, we always say changes.
Yeah,
different areas. And they, oh man, I don't know, you're from South, you act like you're from somewhere else.
Yeah, buzzy.
Have you experienced it like that in the different areas that you're living in, or in the places you've been to now?
I think I haven't, and I've had moments where I've been out of Auckland and like, I'm like, holy crap, this is way different to out south, you know what I mean? But if anything, it just kind of opened my eyes up to a wider world. Like, the south side in me isn't what's around me. It's more so who I am. So like, the only thing that it's really done is sort of altered how I perceive things. So like, for me, I'm just like a south side person perceiving what it's like to be in a city or in a different environment. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that being raised out south, it's just changed my perspective of everything, or it's molded my perspective and how I view things and see things or see people. And I don't know.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
That's mean.
It's cool.
I think that makes sense. Yeah,
that makes sense. Hey, it makes sense, man.
It's not where you live, it's who you are, and all of that upbringing, all of that culture,
the experiences
that molded you into the person you are. So.
And I think for things like struggle and things like trauma, it's definitely like, it's made me, like, I guess I'm not as affected by a lot of things being outside of Auckland, or, you know what I mean, outside of the south, because I've had my own fair share of experiences and I guess my understandings from out south. When I go into other places, maybe it just doesn't hit as much or hit as hard. I don't know. I'm kind of just realizing it as I talk about it.
It's cool.
It's cool, man.
In terms of your CV, And when when we look at your name and some of the stuff you do, like how do you explain what you do? Like,
yeah, that's a hard one because even
Vila the Southsider, Vila the dancer, Vila the actor, or
I'm all of it, man. Like if I was to like condense it into one word, I just want to be a storyteller. Ultimately, my goal isn't to be like the side mission is to be like a dancer and an actor and I guess someone from South, but like ultimately I just want to be a really good storyteller. I think that's where the power is, and that's ultimately the crux of everything. It's the thing that ties in what I love about dance, what I love about acting, and even music. Storytelling is the thing that holds it all together. Yeah.
So you storytell and through your expressions, or like
like different mediums are almost like different languages to me. So like there's stuff that the English language can't say, but dance can. You know what I mean? There's something that dance might not be able to articulate, but maybe acting can. It's different mediums have. It's almost like a 4-dimensional thing, where it's like sometimes if I want people to feel a certain way, I'd have to use a different sort of medium. Yeah, I think that's how I see it. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, that's powerful. How did you get in? How did you figure that out for yourself? Like, this is me. I want to storytell through all these different mediums.
I think I'm still figuring it out, and I think like even I'm really aware. Like as I talk about it, I know me today. That's what I believe. But I know like maybe tomorrow I'll have another epiphany and I might believe something else. But for the time being, like I think it was during high school, I just knew that I loved dance and acting, and I just wanted to carry it on. But I didn't know what it was that I loved. Like I knew it wasn't the sort of like fame aspect or being in front of audiences aspect, because that still scares me. You know what I mean? Like I'm not in it for all of that. It's the ability to tell a story and to move the audience. It's like being a conductor, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can conduct the audience's feelings as I go. And I feel like that's really, for me, that's what I'm keen for. That's the thing I'm curious about. Like how can I really control the room? And I think, that's what I aim for now. Like in a lot of my works now and how I approach acting, it's like, how can I convince the audience, that watch me, and then how can I take them on a journey?
Yeah, man. Because it's interesting. You mentioned the storytelling, and I think a lot of our Pasifika and Māori creatives and artists are all kind of alluding to that storytelling. They want to talk about stories. They want to share their stories. What do you think that's the case now? And you likewise. What do you think that's the case as to why our young people, and just creators in general, are wanting to share the stories of our ancestors and so forth, or their own personal stories?
Yeah, I mean, like everyone has their own reasons, but I feel like what I reckon is that maybe I think the first case is that we don't see enough of it. So it's good to see a lot of people write stories and tell stories and put them up, document them. Like it's really encouraging for me to see a lot of that. And I always try and find ways to support it. But yeah, I think, and a lot of it's just underrepresentation, Like a lot of these stories either aren't told or aren't told enough. And so for me, if I hear people talk about them wanting to sort of produce their own work and write their own stories, oh man, I'm real keen to back it. Like, I still feel like there's a lot that's unsaid. A lot left unsaid, and so I hope that we get more people from different backgrounds to write more things. And that's not just culturally as well. Like I mean, even environment wise, you know what I mean. I feel like a lot of our I don't want to say troubled youth. I feel like they have a lot of powerful stories, and there's a power in telling it. I feel like a lot of people might feel more alone because, you know what I mean, the inside voice in their head. But that's the power of storytelling is, if you release your story and let people know what you've been through, you'll be surprised that people will relate and resonate with it. And for others, for audience members, it's just like a mean thing to get out of their own head and to be like, oh, there's actually people out here that's gone through something similar. Yeah.
Man, That's good. That's good, man.
cool.
That's good.
Is it like is it quite tough for you to go down this lane in the industry, like with some of the hopes and dreams that you
Oh yeah, man.
you have? And
It's always gonna be tough. I just have to be tougher. You know what I mean? Like I ain't scared of it. I feel like everyone that's taken this journey and has been in it for over a year or even 2 years, they understand that it's hard, but it's not impossible. You know what I mean? Like it's achievable. A lot of it's just, a lot of it's time, like and trusting time. Like you really have to give yourself a lot of time to do the work. What's helped me is like discipline, just making sure that I have something consistent and just stay at it. And changing like my mind frame. So like I didn't realize it at the time, but something that really helped me during the end of high school was like I changed definitions to words. So like for example, like the word impossible, everyone understands it as like you can't do it. But if you add a yet at the end of that definition, it changes how you perceive anything that's impossible. Because it gives you more hope. Like for me, it gave me more hope if someone was like, oh, gee, like you can't do a backflip, gee, that's impossible. It just meant that like no one's done it yet, or like I haven't done it yet. So it just gave me more hope to try again. So like I just kept changing the definition of certain words, and it helped me change my mind frame of like things that would seem scary at first. And I just keep going at it,
that's cool.
Yo.
Were you always driven like that, or like what made you sort of stand out from your peer group or from the area you're from? Like you probably would be passionate about certain things, and I don't know if anyone's like, hey, what are you doing? You look, what an idiot. No one's doing that. I don't know. I don't know if that was your experience or.
Yeah, I feel like it's cool. It's a weird one where I feel like we have a culture of no one would say it up front, but like, you know what I mean? People, you can feel the energy sometimes. But for me, I didn't realize it was passion at first. It was curiosity. I just wanted to see where I could go. And I still am curious, you know, I'm curious to see if I still have what it takes to make it into a different audience, you know what I mean? Like if I can crack the American audience, for example, or if I can make works that can sell at arenas, that still is a thing that I'm curious about. And so I'm still aiming to kind of like work at it. So yeah, I never, it's weird because I just noticed that now as I'm talking to you, like I never actually called myself passionate. But yeah, I don't know. I guess for me, I love being, I just love being in it, Like I just love doing it. And when I love something, I guess I tunnel vision. And so, yeah, anything that kind of like feels nice to tunnel vision in, I just go for. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
well,
cool.
I mean, yeah.
You're zoned in. You're zoned in.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah,
You
man.
block out
everything. Yeah, I don't even mean to block out everything. I just do. Like, yeah, it just, and that's why I love the craft so much, because you can never clock it. You can never be the best at it. So like you're always tunnel vision, and you're always gonna go somewhere. You're always gonna find something new.
That's cool. I like what you said that, you know, it's your craft. You know, you always refining your craft, as any creative or any artist would do, refine their craft. But you mentioned discipline and mindset, and so obviously in the game of you know, of freelance acting and dancing, what does it tell us? What does it look for you in terms of discipline and mindset? Can you elaborate in terms of how do you kind of conjure up all those ideas and also stay in the game and always and be motivated?
Yeah, Buzzy. I think the first one is like, there's almost like two parts, or at least how I see it, there's almost two parts. So like the first part is the technical stuff. So like for dance, your body is like your medium, you know what I mean? It's your instrument. And for acting, I'll say even for acting, your body is your instrument and your medium. So like just keeping fit is a really already a massive step to sharpening your tools. So it's just been, for me, it's making sure that even weekly, just checking in, see how my body is, find ways to make sure that I'm safe and healthy. And then the creative aspect is the second aspect. And it's a weird one, but stillness actually helps me with that. Finding moments to just sit down or check in with myself. I feel like I don't do it enough, especially when there's a lot going on or there's a lot of projects on the move. But with stillness, there's something about being present that makes you like in tune with your surroundings. And as storytellers, we have to know what we're telling the stories of, you know what I mean? So sometimes you have to sit down and have a look at what's going on outside. And so for me, stillness is the thing that draws me back to what it is that that's resonating with me in the present moment, and what I feel like is honest and deserves to be on stage or deserves to be made. I think, yeah. I think that's what it is.
It's cool.
Pete mentioned before, in terms of this, you do like Creative Wednesdays.
Yo,
are you able to talk about it? Because I think it's cool.
Yeah, man, I'm keen. So like, I was crack up. So I was with Doso Samson Rambo one year. I think it was 2020. And this was during lockdown, and this is when everyone was going on their walks and doing their challenges. I was like, I mean. But it was also a weird
push-ups.
Yeah. It was a weird time where I felt like when I was on social media, I noticed, you know what I mean, like everyone was doing amazing things. It was that weird moment where it's like, oh man, everyone's doing a lot. But it's hard to know. Like, you never know what people are doing or not doing. And there was a thought that came to my mind where it's like, man, I wish people understood that there was more to it than just the end product. And I was talking about people as in people that may not know how much effort and time it goes into finishing projects or doing projects. And so I was like, man, I'll be keen to show people part of the process through social media. And then I was also, at the same time, it was like a different thought. I needed a day to keep me creative, because like I had no work at the time in terms of like projects, and I was working at a vape store at the time. So I was like, I need to stay active. I need to stay sharpening these tools. And so I was like, okay, I just need to dedicate one day where I'm just going to stay creative and just use that as a day of working. Because as freelancers, man, it's so easy to just sit there and wait for an audition to come through. So I was like, nah, I don't want to be like that. I want to be someone that's proactive. I want to be someone that's actually fighting to be on screen or to be on stage. And so I was like, sweet, Wednesday is the day, because it's the middle of the week. So it's like, if I have no work this week, or if I have no auditions this week, I'm gonna at least have Wednesday where I'm just gonna spend the whole day just doing something creative. And so at first I used Wednesdays, I created Creative Wednesdays, and at first I just used it to kind of like go over scripts and practice, you know what I mean, some dance moves, and then I'd put it online on my story, just so that for me it's like a checklist. So for me it's like, okay, sweet, I've done it. This is me saying that I've done it, and then that's that. I can put it there. That's me done for the day. And then I had another epiphany the week after, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try different things that I'm not used to. So I ended up writing out a list of, I guess, other genres or things that I wasn't good at. So things like accents or like magic tricks, like just a random list of different genres. And I was like, sweet. Every Wednesdays from now on, every Creative Wednesday, I'm gonna try and do at least 3 or 4 things and learn something new. Because what that meant was that I had to sharpen my tools, get used to being shit on can I swear? Sorry. Sorry, but get used to being shit and people seeing. It also meant that for me, I'm just learning something new.
You know, sort of holding you accountable.
Yeah, and that's and that's the last one. Yeah, and it's holding me accountable. It just meant that I checked all of these things off. I've learned something new, and then I move on to the next week. And I've been doing that for like 3 years now, I think.
That's mean.
Yeah.
What was some of the stuff you're doing? Like,
bro, yeah. So like accents, magic tricks. What else did I?
What was the meanest magic trick you did?
Card magic tricks are buzzy. Like a lot of it's illusionary type stuff. Like when you do it, you're like, oh, this is pretty underwhelming. But like as an audience member, you're like, oh, gee, just moved the card. Like it's buzzy because like you can. A lot of those skills that I learned in other things was really transferable to the main things that I wanted to do, like for dance and for acting. I'll try and give an example. Like, let's just use magic tricks as an example. The core thing about magic tricks is that you have to hide the fundamentals, right? So you have to hide how the thing works. And if you do it correctly, that's how you get the audience to be in awe. Because you're like, they don't know how I did it. So that's why they're amazed. So for me, when it comes to storytelling and acting or in dance, when I came up with certain methods of making things, that was my aim. Just like a magician or just like a magic trick. How can I hide the fundamentals of a certain game or a certain task, so that the audience don't get it, but the dancers on stage do, and it creates a sense of awe. So like those certain things like that I was like, that's transferable to these other crafts. And yeah, man. And also like there are opportunities have come from Creative Wednesday as well. Like working with accents. Far North was the first time I've had to have, I had to do an Aussie accent for it. You know what I mean?
Let's
bro.
Give us a bit of a teaser, man.
I'm scared now. Because this guy's going to go Dundee.
Come on, Mike.
Nah, man. It's still got a lot of work, but so like if I'm talking like this and that, just making sure that so like for me, I know that the accent's a bit nasally in that, and also inflections in that at the end, like just making sure that it goes up.
Nice.
That's cool, man. That's cool. But it's like, it's cool because Creative Wednesdays is a thing where it's like, even though it might seem silly at the time, that's me just staying ready. You know what I mean? There's a quote where it's like, never get ready, just stay ready.
Yeah.
Like, so for me, it's a mean checklist. It's a mean way to be like, okay, sweet, you're still kind of pumping the blood. You're still kind of staying active, staying ready.
Jeez.
Cool. Sorry for putting you in the spot.
That was convincing me.
You backed up what you just said.
But that's what I mean. You gotta stay ready, bro. You never know when you need it.
We appreciate that, because I think that's great what you're doing, the Creative Wednesday, because you could just kind of rest on your laurels and say, just no work's available, so I'm just gonna just kind of chill and do whatever. But you just kind of think, you're just gonna keep refining my craft, like you said before. And so that's incredible that you kind of do this. And so obviously, you said, did it open up some doors for you in terms of?
Yeah. So like that's one. Like another one that I kind of got into was voice acting. So like I real grateful, and just a shout out to my agent as well, Johnson and Led. But it was my first time sort of doing a voiceover for a Nickelodeon show called Shark Dog, where I was like, but at the time, like I was just trying to play with funny voices, you know what I mean? Because I was like, I never know when I'm going to use this for, like during Creative Wednesday. But it helped me kind of like take the first step in trying out all of these things. And so, yeah, man, I think it was like a couple months later, I got a random audition being like, hey, would you, it wasn't even an audition. They're just like, hey, look, they'd like you to read for this. Are you keen to step in? And I was like, oh, sweet. And then I found out it was Nickelodeon, and I found out what it was, and I was like, oh man, I'll just give it a try and see how it goes, and then luckily managed to get it. That's just one of the opportunities that have come from Creative Wednesday.
Oh wow, what's it? So what's the name of the?
Oh, Shark Dog. It's called Shark Dog. I think it's on Netflix too.
Ooh.
Just me.
It's a kids animation. Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh, gonna have to look.
But like it's like for me it's cool because like after 3 years of Creative Wednesday, the one thing that's really been beneficial for me is like being fearless when it comes to trying new things. I feel a bit more open to new spaces and to diving into the deep end a bit more now, which has helped me, especially like because I know who I was back then. I was really shy and didn't want to trouble people, you know what I mean? So like after 2-3 years of it, I feel like it's almost kind of like lubricated me into just kind of inserting myself a bit more and being more assertive and being more confident in what I do. But yeah, talking back to what you're saying before about like, it's so easy if you don't have work to just sit there and wait. And I think it's a real, like I understand the mindset behind it. I just know I can't do that for me. Like, for me, if that for me is like a dead dream, because like anything that is alive moves, and if you sit and wait, that to me is dead. Like I have to keep it alive, and by keeping it alive, I have to work on it somehow. And if it's not Creative Wednesday, then it'll be watching a movie or watching a podcast or, you know what I mean, reading. Like, I have to keep that dream moving, otherwise it'll just die. Yeah. I think that's just my approach to everything. Like with life, like if you look at sharks, you know what I mean? If sharks stop, then they die. If our heart stops, then we die. You have to keep it moving.
Well, what a great analogy. Because, you know, I think a lot of people, or even adults, I know you're quite young, or a young man, but, you know, I think a lot of people might just, you know, hopefully they're listening or watching this and go, man, but this guy's always on the go. You know, this, and you actually are grinding and you actually are hustling. And it's not like, oh, I'm just going to sit here and think, because, you know, some people look at the cameras and they see you on TV on the screens and think, oh, yeah, that's easy. That looks easy to do. Yeah, I think anyone can do it. But the truth is that not everyone can do what you do. And especially with the multifaceted and multi-talented that you are. And so you talk about fearless, and I think we should talk about this. And because what do you think in terms of our men or younger men or men in general, why do you think that a lot of us are afraid to step out or afraid to give things a go? From your point of view. Because for you, it seems like you have no problem. I'm just going to do it. Yeah, or at least it's a weird one where it's like nothing is absolute and everything is in moments. So like even for, like let's just say like Creative Wednesdays, if I was to stop for like say 3 or like a month, I already know that I'll go back to being how I was before. So like everything is in moments. Like what am I trying to say? Like seasons? You think like yeah, like we all feel confident in moments. Like we're never confident always. Confidence or any emotion, it's never like a happy ever after type thing. It's like you always have to chase it. You always have to keep working on it. So I know for me, that's why I mean, like if I stop Creative Wednesday, I know that further down the line, it's going to be harder for me to be confident in myself or in my work. And in terms of, I guess, other people, it's hard to, I mean, there's multiple reasons why people would feel, I guess, less fearless. But I think the main one is, it's a vulnerable thing to open up. Yeah.
It's a real vulnerable thing to open up. And it's even more vulnerable to just open up and sort of flop. And that's what's beautiful about being trained in the theatre, and it's a shout out to Massive Theatre Company and Sam Scott, is that I had to do a lot of that, like for years, like back to back. But then a lot of it I'd say is the inner critic, you know, your own self, your own mind just telling you that it'll just dream the worst possible situation. And often it's hard to untie that afterwards. It's hard to take those images out of your head. Yeah, so I feel like when it comes to being when it comes to being fearless, you just have to shut up your mind. You have to just tell your brain to just shush, and then just go in. Just don't think. But yeah, I think a lot of it is just being okay with yourself and being okay with being shit.
Yeah, that's a hard one, hey, Charles. Because I know we had another guest last week, and he said that, you know, in terms of being fearless, that, you know, just it's about getting over yourself and just having a laugh, and doesn't, regardless of who. If like you said, if you flop and you make a fool of yourself, or you have egg on your face, it's all good. You know, and it's you get thick skin. But I don't know if we could have. I don't know, hey, Charles. What do you think for us as men, like even on the table?
Oh, yo.
Yeah, like that's something that.
Well, I really like Vila's approach to it, because like looking at it in terms of like moments, and if you're not working towards it and helping developing some of like wanting to be courageous, if you sit, then you're never gonna develop that you're gonna end up going back, and then you might shrink back into your shell. But you're always developing, you're keeping it sharp, and that's pearls of wisdom for a whole group of people that probably never viewed it that way.
I think I just really feel for people that are courageous, because it's a weird one where it's like, if people believe that you're courageous, you only need to be courageous once, and then that's you sussed, then it's harder for people to check up on you, because they just feel like you're already, you know what I mean, that courageous person. So like, I really feel for people that are courageous always, because I'm like, you guys really are constantly putting in the work, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, like,
that's good. Man.
Wow, that's good.
That's
a
cool.
mean perspective. Yeah,
like it. Yeah, because like you're saying, Charles. I think there are moments and there's times where you want to step out and you want to kind of, okay, this is what I want to do. But like you were saying, Charles, and you were saying as well, Vila, that people don't do it because they're not putting in the work. Hey, so but if you put it in the work, like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can do it or refine what I'm doing. And so that's just harder, because I know for a lot of men, and that for them to kind of even try and do things, because maybe they get shut down or people will mock them. Obviously, the same thing. And a lot of the dilemmas, a lot of fear, a lot of shame, a lot of whakama, and it stops them from like doing things or giving things a try. But for you, bro, I like the fact that you're like, hey, I don't care. I think a lot of us should do that. Like, have the courage, eh?
And I think it's hard. Like, and that's the thing, is like, the reason why it's so viewed on a pedestal is because it's really difficult. Like, it's hard to maintain that. It's hard to be fearless, one, because it's scary, and it's just hard to convince yourself always. And I'd say a lot of what will make it difficult is your environment. Because if you're surrounded by people that will constantly tell you like, oh, bro, you know what I mean, that was shit, or make jokes about it, it's harder for you. It's going to be harder for you to try again. So you really have to surround yourself, and not just with people, but with like things that you ingest. So like ideologies or things that you might scroll through Instagram. Like, you really have to surround yourself with things that will progress you forward. And so that's why a lot of the times, like, even though I have a lot of friends, I spend a lot of times alone. And that's why my hardest critic I already know is myself, because it's not other people telling me things, it's my brain telling me things. And that's why, like, I really need there are days where I can tell my brain to shut up, and there are days where it overtakes it, and that's just the reality. That's just life, I just don't take it too seriously, or I try to not take it too seriously, and just aim to do better, or take it one day at a time. Yeah.
Well, have there been times that maybe you can give us an example? Have there been times where you're in the midst of your friends and they're talking some negative thoughts or whatever, and so have you like, oh man, how do you get yourself? Do you, like you said, you spend most of your time by yourself sometimes?
Yeah.
Do you exit the conversation, or you just kind of block it, or just
I feel like, bro, that's a mean question. I'm glad that I view it the way I'm glad I view it like that now, because it helps me get out of my head when I'm in those situations. Because there has been times where I'm in certain environments where I'm just doing something like origami, for example. Man, like I was trying to make origami, and then I had another mate who was doing something that was really good. But and then I just remember people being like, "Oh man, you can just finish it now, G. That's already mad." You know what I mean? Like, and that's like just common banter. Like that's nothing to be offended about. But like, I know further down, my mind's gonna be like, "Oh, remember that time you tried to do origami and people called it mud? You probably suck at origami." So it's just understanding when something is a petty thing and just to leave it as a petty thing. You know what I mean? But there are times where it just accumulate subconsciously, like certain words or certain comments, and some things will stick with you. And it's a weird one, because like no one will think about you as much as you know? So like when it comes to your problems, no one's going to think about you as much as yourself. So sometimes you have to just get over yourself and realize it's not that big of a deal.
But how do you deal with self-doubt and some of the that inner voice, the inner critic? I'd honestly want to be one of those dudes that say like meditation and that, but I'm not good at meditation. Like, you know what I mean?
We say yoga.
Yeah, yoga. You know what I mean? Like, oh, bro, just breathe. You know. Yeah. But Nah, there are days where I'm good at it, and there are days when I'm not. I feel like a lot of it is saying it out loud. So I'm grateful to have a partner that is really good at communication and really good at listening. So when there's something on either of our minds, we can just sit and talk about it and unravel it together. And I feel like that's been really helpful for me. But yeah, when it comes to self-doubt, just remembering time, that everything happens in moments. So like for this period, it's going to be really shit. For these 2-3 days, it's going to be really shit. But I understand that it's going to, you know what I mean? Time erodes everything. So like that'll dissipate and I just get back to working. And that's where discipline comes in too. It's like never to sit in shit. Because if I sit and indulge in shit, I'm going to stay there. But if you have the discipline to take a hit and keep going, then that will help you move on faster. So like there are times where, yeah, man, like I've been, criticized for certain things. And yeah, I just had to take it on the chin and just keep moving. And I feel like, yeah, just understanding how time works. Yeah, even if I'm hurt, and afraid, as long as I keep moving, then it'll be all good.
Yeah.
Just take, you know what I mean? Just take it day by day. Tick off the checklist.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think that's how I go about it.
You mentioned something that could easily just thing over, like, but you mentioned like communication. Your partner is good at it. Did she teach you it? Was it something that you had to get used to?
Yeah.
Because, you know, as men, it's hard to communicate sometimes. So.
Yeah, man, like early on in our relationship, I didn't even realize we were bad at communication, and I think it's actually something that runs in my family. But I have a tendency where I get really angry. Rather than voicing it, I keep quiet and I keep all of those thoughts ruminating in my brain. And so when my partner would want to talk about things, I'd naturally just like not engage, because I knew that I'd get angry, and for some reason being angry is a bad thing. Oh, it is. Well, I don't know why I said for some reason, but you know what I mean? Yeah. So I still don't want to make it tense. But she told me that if I just stayed in those thoughts, then nothing will change. But two, it'll just keep getting bigger. The more you think about something, the bigger it gets. So like, she taught me to just slowly open up to, she would like be patient with me. She'd like sit there. She was relentless. She made sure that we had to talk about it. And even though it was a real foreign thing for me to open up, I was glad that she had that patience. And yeah.
That's awesome.
I feel like, that's actually a really good point, because I feel like a lot of who I am now and a lot of why I can go through things quicker is actually because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, real buzzy. Yo,
So
thanks
good.
for that. Yo.
No, good.
Yeah.
Because I know you got a brother that's a fighter.
Yeah.
And so I know the family.
Yeah,
like the family,
yeah.
you know.
But
So,
you know too that we're really, really quiet. You know too that all of my siblings don't talk much. And yeah, I think it's because of we just keep it to ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's to avoid confrontation or to keep the peace, but
Yeah.
it's difficult to communicate because of that culture.
Cool.
Yeah.
And it's cool that you've figured that out and developed this way of communicating and expressing yourself. And because it'll just add value to the storytelling and
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
But it's a weird one where it's like, I think that's why I was really in tune with storytelling through dance and through acting. It's because I couldn't do it in my words.
Yeah.
And so I had to find a different way to express it or creatively let it out. Yeah. Trippy.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And it's cool for our viewers because they'll figure out that, man, I got to find these different outlets for me to express myself, or else if I sit with it, it's going to come out badly when shit hits the fan, or when someone like approaches me and I'm sitting with all this rubbish, and then the wrong person comes, then I'll unload it in the wrong way, so it's cool that we're having this conversation where like, man, I express myself through this. There's an outlet here, and everyone's different. We're not the same, so it's cool hearing your process. And man, young buck, you're self-aware, but you're still evolving. So it's so cool to for me anyway. Like having this style of knowledge.
I think that's thank you for that, Us. But I'm also really grateful that I'd say a lot of the generation before me took the brunt of it, I think. And it's from watching that generation deal with it that sort of made me more aware and made me, I just become more observant of it all. And I think that's why it's really cool, like podcasts like these, where you guys can just openly talk about it. But yeah, man, I feel like it's your guys' generation where I like learned a lot. And so I'm continuing to learn,
Our generation doing that wrong, or
nah.
Both?
It's just, it's like just taking on life, and like, you know what I mean? Life will hit however, but it's almost like a wave where it's like, it's hit you guys first and then it's about to hit us. But I've learned from how you guys deal with it.
Oh, his age group B.
I was like, I was saying,
Oh, wow. Thank you very much.
Quick shout out. Let's have a pause break. Because I don't think we do this enough. We always rep La Salle, but what school are you from?
Bro, I'm at Otahu College, man. Loud and proud.
Say it with your chest.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah, man. There's a lot of greats that have come from that school. There's a lot of, I want to shout out my whole year group, man. Class of 2014, because I feel like it was, for me, man, it was such a good year group, bro. Like, there was no real drama, at least not that I knew of. Everyone is super supportive. Everyone that I see now is still chasing their dreams, So like, I'm really grateful and proud to be at Otahu at that year and to graduate at that year, because I feel like that was like a massive sort of confidence. It's like a stepping stone of confidence for me, that being from that year group. And even now and then, I just message people randomly or get messages from people of that class randomly, just being supportive. So like, I really want to shout out to everyone of that year group, man. Like, it was cool. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's cool, man. It's cool. Yeah, you touch on some really good stuff, man. Also in terms of communication, like Charles was saying, communication and the right supports, and also your partner as well. So just, has there ever been an instance where you felt like regardless of your partner and trying to relentlessly kind of communicate and talk to you, that you felt like, I just can't open up, and you're at a really dark point in your life?
Yeah, man. There's, even with my partner, like sometimes I'd have to take weeks to just process what it is that I'm feeling or thinking. And oh man, like, I don't know how I deal with it. I just ruminate on it, and I try and find the words for so long and how to say it. And there's a weird moment where like, I'm like, okay, today's the day I'm going to talk about it. And then I'll sit there and my throat just goes dry. Like I can't say it. I don't know what it is. I think there's a fear in, truth is a scary thing, like there's a fear in being honest about something that you're truly, truly embarrassed about or truly, truly feel sorry about. And there's so many moments that I've had with her and with other people that my throat just goes dry. Like I really have to take time. Like for me, I think it's time just to let it settle. And also for me to to fully have it there. I'm still working on it too. Like, and that's the thing I know is like, I don't have the answer for any of these, but these are just what I'm working on at the moment.
Yeah, because it can be each other. Even it can be for me in general. I was thinking, like you said, you mentioned truth, and it is quite, and you kind of like you mentioned kind of shame and whakama. But yeah, just even trying to utter those words, whatever it is, or whatever the issue is. And it's hard for us. I don't know. Is it because of a lot of the things that we've witnessed, or a little trauma, or is it because in your own instance, or all of any of you too? But why is it so hard for us? Even now we talk about it and we're having a good, cool conversation, but when the rubber hits the road and we have to kind of share whatever it is, why is it still so hard? Like,
Yeah.
it is hard, eh? Charles, it's hard. Like, if you go, it's like,
like my experience, and there's moments where I still get like that, and it just shows we're human.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
and when we don't talk about it, we feel like, oh man, stuff is wrong with me. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm not talking about my situation and what I'm going through on my own, I'll just feel like, oh man, why they got it all together, and I feel like this, and you sit on your thoughts and you just feel like, bro, no one understands. But then when you share it to someone outside of your circle, and then they go, bro, that's like me, and they talk about their thing, and you're like, oh shucks, okay, this is normal. You know, I'm not on my own.
Hard.
And say, okay, if this is normal, okay, how do we deal with this? And so, like, I'm finding when there's certain situations where I feel like, oh man, why Lord, why? And then I talk to someone else about it, and they go, oh man, just like me. And I was going, oh, okay. I'm not. It's not just me. I'm not an idiot. And so I think it's just, I don't know, sometimes just figuring out who can we share to, who do we trust, maybe someone that's not familiar, and just having different spaces, different outlets.
And I think, that's a really good point. Like, I think it's almost like it depends on your relationship with the people you talk about or talk to, like, and there's different reasons why it'll be hard for you to talk about it. But I think it's really important to note that, flip, it's good that we're all human and that mistakes are just part of our nature. Flip, it's Buzzy, you say that. I was just trying to think about my dad, and all, like, not even just my dad, but like my siblings and family, and how I talk to them is way different to how I talk to other friend groups. And I feel like that's just normal. But a lot of why I can't talk to them about certain things is one, embarrassment, but a lot of it is cringing for some reason. Like for example, my dad's really used to saying I love you to all of us. But for some reason, all of us siblings still find it really awkward to say back. We all feel it and we all understand it, which is weird because it's like the space in between. There's a space where it's like we acknowledge that we know that obviously we all love each other, but it's still really awkward to say. And I think that's something that I'm working on. There's a quote that I came across that was like, don't kill the part of you that cringes, kill the... Don't kill the part of you that's cringe, kill the part of you that cringes. That's what the quote is. Yeah. So it's like, for me, that's something that I kind of want to work towards, just with my siblings and with my dad or my mom. I find it easier with my mom because I'm a mama's boy. But especially my dad is like, I really want to work towards just saying I love you and not feeling
some type of
awkward about it, you know what I mean?
I'm not trying to be a counselor, but have you figured out like what that?
A lot of it, I think, for at least my current idea of it is that it's just, I just cringe at it. I just find it weird. I don't know, I
think it's a perception of how you view love,
maybe,
versus how we expressing the love to you.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's just because he's my dad. I think it's the backing of it. I think it's because I've known him longer than anyone else, and I've shared many different experiences with him.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think a lot of it will just be that I have a different connection with him. I have a more honest connection with him because he's seen me for who I am. Like he's seen past every single layer. You know what I mean? So I feel like he knows me at my most deepest level. And so if I was to say I love you back, it has to come from that place.
Wow.
And that's deeper than vulnerable. Like, I'm a vulnerable person, but that's even deeper than what I'm used to digging.
Yeah. Because what's that? Is that quite stoic? Is he quite a staunch
he's
individual?
he's a staunch man. Like, he's a cool dude. That's his crack up. I think that's weird. I didn't have a bad relationship with him. I actually have a fairly good one, but it's just real shallow. Like if you were to look at it from the outside in, I guess a lot of it would be a language barrier.
Yeah.
Because like our siblings, for some reason, are just being brought up in New Zealand, the English language really took over, and my parents were real adamant about just making sure we get a good job. So they just really pushed the language or the English language. But yeah, it's a weird one where I think I was actually having a thought about why I'm such a mama's boy, but I think it's because my dad had to play like not the villainous role, but he had to be the one.
Not the bad cop.
He had to be the bad cop almost, for most of my life. And so like, oh man, I just remember growing up being like, bro, I hate this guy. You know what I mean? Like, this guy is just like always talking smack. Won't let me do anything, even though it sounds logical to me. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff that I didn't understand back then that I totally understand now. It's weird because I always like thought about like, man, I don't want to be like this guy when I grow up. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be like a better dad. But man, like, it's because I kept running from him that I ended up going to my mum. And that's why I felt like, and that's my current reasoning as to why I might be why I love my mum so much and why I can be so open about that. But it's only recently that I was like, oh man, why? I haven't really thought about my dad or given him the credit. And then I was unpacking all of that and I was like, man, he was just being a good dad this whole time. Like, he was just looking out for me that whole time. And I feel like I haven't given him his proper props. And yeah, I feel like it's just something I'm working towards, man. Like, I'm working towards, one, recovering the language for myself, and two, just to feel okay with saying I love you and letting it be normal.
Sure, also, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
oh, all good, man. Hey, I told you guys, man, I'm open, bro.
It's
That's
cool, man.
cool. And I think we can resonate, like, in terms of our Samoan dads, our staunch dads, and the way they loved us. And it was always mom that we would run to and we would communicate with. And I remember, man, yeah. I remember the only time I heard I love you was when this one time when my dad was drunk.
Yeah, Buzzy.
And it was like, I love you, son. I was going, hey?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was older when I was working and I was just had a family and then I had a drink with him where I realized he saw me differently.
Yo.
It's got nothing to do with your story, but
Nah.
shucks, I was just, just thinking about our dads and
Yeah.
and like how they love differently from our mothers and like I love you, son, but I hurt you because I love you. That type of thing.
Oh, man.
And I was like, man,
Bro, man.
that love hurts. I don't like that love.
I loved a lot, bro.
We're the same household, man.
yo. But no, it's cool that you say that, because it's like, I feel like the only reason why I started thinking about that now is because I'm being older and leaving the house. I can actually look at my parents as humans now and not just my mom and dad. Like, I can look at them as people that, you know what I mean, that are just trying to get by.
And realizing that they got a history.
They got a history as well.
And
And so, like, it's from that my perception shifted. And, yeah, man. It's just things to work on. There's always things to work on, I guess.
It's cool.
So good also.
It's cool.
That's me.
And I like it. I like the conversation we're kind of talking about, because sometimes mum and dad is mum and dad for us, and often we don't kind of think about mum and dad's struggles or traumas that they had growing up.
Yeah.
And so we think, and it's cool. Like you said, you move out of home, you look at mum and dad again. Oh man, gosh, man, mum and dad they went through some stuff, or maybe I was the reason why they kind of added some trauma to mum and dad sometimes. And so, props to your dad and your mum, bro, and also
thanks,
the
man.
journey in terms of you kind of evolving, man. So it's awesome, bro. But also with because I know we touched on your acting and your freelancing, but your dancing, because I've seen some of your clips.
Oh, yo.
I'm loving that contemporary dancing, man.
Thank you also.
Because I think we had someone talk about, one of the guests talking about hip hop. Hip hop is cool, the dancing, hip hop dancing, but there's something about contemporary dancing. And so, what is it? Do you feel the same way? Do you feel that the contemporary dancing is totally different from the hip hop?
Oh, man. Like, it's a weird one. Because I only got into it because on my last year of high school, I only did like dance and drama. Like I really went ham at school. And then I didn't realize until my last year that I had to get a job. So like, you know what I mean? So I was like, oh, the only things I'm good at is dance and acting, man. So I was like, oh, I might as well go hard in this. And I knew from there, I was like, I have to go uni because I knew there's something that my parents have been sort of like drilling in my head. And it's also something that I was just keen to get a paper for. And it had to be if I went uni, it had to be in either acting or in dance. And if I had to do acting at uni, I had to find dance somewhere else. And if I did dance at uni, I had to find acting somewhere else. And at the same time, I ended up sort of finding Massive Theatre Company. And that was sort of like my home for acting. That was the thing that upskilled me. I worked alongside a lot of great people that are in the industry today, thanks to that company. And so as I was doing acting there, I just did dance at the University of Auckland because the schedule just fit, like, so it made it easier for me to kind of do both. And yeah, man, like while I was there, contemporary dance was like the predominant sort of like genre or style of dance. And at the time I was like, oh bro, this is weird. Like I kind of just want to do like street style dance or hip hop, you know. But then what's cool is like I understood the sort of makeup of what contemporary dance was, and that all of my preconceptions were actually outdated. So like everything that I thought was contemporary dance was actually old school stuff. And yeah, so like there are certain things in contemporary dance that felt really intellectual to me, and it felt so open, man. Like the way that I explain contemporary dance to people is like, it's honestly such a talk smack genre because it basically just means movement. So like any movement in any space, that's contemporary dance. I was like, bro, anyone can do that then, you know what I mean? But it's almost like art, where it's like, even though some people may not understand it, if the artist has a sort of certain idea behind it and they can back it up and then, you know, write a thesis or something that talks about why they did it the way they did it and where, you know what I mean? Like all of those questions, it just makes it such a more wholesome piece. And I feel like that's the thing that was like, oh man, I could really explore storytelling through contemporary dance or certain movements, you know, like I trained a lot in a certain way of moving thanks to going to the University of Auckland. And yeah, man, now I'd say I'm more in tune with contemporary dance than I am with any other style. Just because I love exploring that space. It's really hard to explain. Like even just then I was like, man, that was a stink explanation. But like, it really is any kind of movement to anything. It's a weird genre, man. It's a colonizer genre because it's anything. You know what I mean? Like, oh man.
So you can't do any moves like sitting down, or is it just anything?
Bro, yeah,
anything
man.
goes in?
You could, man. Anything goes.
Well, with his explanation,
But you
I
have to
can be
have
a contemporary dancer. But I now have to explain it.
Yeah, you know, and if you're fully in it, you know what I mean? You could just sit here and swivel around this chair, but if you could write like, oh yeah, so like this explores, you know, like the idea of feeling drunk. You know what I mean? It's like you could, there's reasons. You could write a whole thesis behind it, man. At uni, I just learned how to talk smack.
I'm mimicking the earth going around the sun.
See? I'd have been like, oh, yeah.
I got a master's.
Dress him up as a sun. I'd have been like, perfect, bro. Perfect. I see that.
So it's open to interpretation.
It's open to interpretation. It's so
abstract.
Yeah.
The stuff you do in the dark, there might be... They might be good.
There's a different kind of movement over there. But I don't know if I want to watch that. I don't know if I want to watch that.
I got a whole thesis on that.
It's a magic trick.
Contemporary, man.
Yo, man.
Bro, man, we should just start doing our own contemporary.
Oh man. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's so open.
That's cool.
It's I feel like a lot of that intellectual thinking helped me through creating or writing scripts. How I was talking earlier about like how I'm writing, like a lot of that sort of experimentative thinking came from studying dance, I'd say. And so yeah, man, like I love it because it's so open, and because it's so open, there's so much to explore. And man, yeah, there's just heaps of things that I'm keen to explore. So yeah,
that's cool. And in terms of education, because you seem to be an avid learner, not only the academic world, but also like self-taught.
Yo,
And so, what do you say to people that like, oh, you don't need a paper, and versus everything's on YouTube? Like, how do you balance that out? Or you can speak to both.
yeah. Well, that's the thing is like you can it just depends on what you're in it for. Like it was very early on in my first year of uni. Like it was quite known that you don't need a paper to do dance. I mean, a lot of the people that I was friends with that did dance didn't necessarily take the academic route, but are still going hard today. So like, it just depends on what you need that paper for. And I'd say honestly, like, unless you know what that is, I'd say don't go uni. Like, don't really be purposeful with everything you do. Like, if you're gonna go uni, really know what that degree is gonna do for you. Like, are you gonna go teach? Are you gonna go be a lecturer somewhere? Are you gonna start a business? All of that stuff is good sort of things to think about before you even apply. Like for me, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher when I started the degree, but then my dreams sort of changed halfway through because I knew that to be an actor or to be an actor, freelance actor and dancer, I have to be fully in it. I can't just be half-assed. So then I kind of put the teacher thing on hold for later in life. But yeah, like all information, well, not all information, but like as long as you get the right information, it doesn't matter where you get it from. As long as you act on it, that's the thing that matters. So as long as you're practicing things, as long as you're trying things out and actually diving head first, then I feel like all of that stuff is more important.
That's good. And what kept you motivated? Like you studied halfway and then you figured, man, there's another career path, but you finished your degree.
Yeah, man. There's a weird thing where it's like, I had a taste of it and I knew that that's where I kind of wanted to go. Like while I was at uni, I was doing shows both in acting and in dance. And then I got a lot of my first opportunities in film while I was still at uni. I remember being in Fiji shooting this film called The Other Side of Heaven 2 and doing my assessments. Like I had to do all of my assessments online. But that's just part of what I signed up for and that's what I'm keen to do. But yeah, in terms of drive, like, there's a weird thing where it's like wants not strong enough. You have to turn your wants into needs. Because if you don't, you know what I mean? Like it's easy to want to go Hollywood or wherever you want to go. But if you turn it into a need, it makes it more real. So like for me, because I knew early on that that's kind of where I wanted to go. And I just had to have the balls to kind of like, it only took me like the last 2 years to have the balls to be like, this is where I want to go. So I turned that want into a need. And now, yeah, bro, like I'm freelancing both in acting and dance full time. Like I told my partner, and I was like, it's part of the risk, but that's part of the reason why I want to do it. It's like, I told her I don't want a secondary job as I'm doing this. Like I want to feel the stress of not having any work if it comes to it to drive me to find work.
Ooh,
like, so I'm full-time freelancing, you know what I mean? And I'll be honest with you, like I'm in the last part now. Like I just finished off my last job a couple of weeks ago and I probably won't see another job till next year. But you know what I mean? I've been practicing and been disciplined of saving money. But yeah, in those 2 months, man, I already know my brain's gonna go, oh gee, how you gonna get more money coming through? And my brain will easily either go, okay, take the safe route, where it's like, oh yep, just get a job, or hustle, find a project, build a project, do a project, or audition for something. And that's, for me, that's the thing that will edge me forward. That's the thing that will help me. I'm fight or flight, like, you know what I mean? That's the thing that will get me to where I want to go. Yeah,
bro, man, you're one smart cat, bro. Straight up, one smart cat. In terms of you mentioned being purposeful, and I think a lot of us men kind of timid a bit, try to try new things. And you said risks, take a risk, man. Hey, Charles, I think we totally agree in terms of you taking a risk, or people taking a risk, or men taking a risk in general. And you said, hey, wants and needs. You actually, and you're saying in terms of stress, because some people, stress, they view stress as negative. Oh man, it's just too stressful. Can't do this. But you're taking it like, is it? And correct me if I'm wrong or right. So you're saying that stress helps you to push you
Yeah, it goes back to mentality. Like, I know it won't work for everyone, and I'm not saying that everyone should do it. I'm just saying that works for me. But I know that it's just a different way of thinking. You know what I mean? It's like, for me, man, I like to fight to get what I want. You know, like, if I was on a boat, if my plan was to go from A to B, and you have to take a boat to go from A to B, and my boat crashed midway, I don't want to go back to A. Like, I need to get to B. I need to find that whatever it is. So like, yeah, man, like for me, I know that if I go back to a job, I'm gonna settle.
Yeah.
And I know I'm gonna like wish a lot of, you know what I mean? I feel like I regret a lot because I've been in that position when I was working at the vape store. And so I know what that feeling is like, and I know I don't want to go back there. And so for me, yeah, it's like, it's a risk in terms of like, you know what I mean, the financial stuff, but it just means I'm not working hard enough. Like that's what I tell myself, you know, I'm not working hard enough to find these opportunities and make use of it.
Yeah, I can guarantee also, because whoever's listening or whoever's watching, and they're probably on the cusp of like, oh man, I want to step out in faith, or I want to do this, and I want to hustle or do the grind. And so when and hopefully the hope is that they're listening to you, thinking, man, bro, this guy's he's not afraid to put himself out there. And you talk about stress, because people think, oh man, stress is just too much drama. But you flipping it and say, hey, stress is positive. And it is. Yeah. There's positive stress and negative stress. But for you to say, okay, my stress is going to endure, my stress is going to push me to achieve the goal, bro, I think, I hope that people are like watching it, man, bro, if Vila's going through this stuff, then maybe I should just do it.
Oh, I hope so. I came across a quote. I came across a quote that said something along the lines of, every excuse that you make is valid, but none of it will get you where you want to go. So like, yeah, for me, it's like, I could easily understand where everyone's coming from, and I could easily be like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm running out of money, I need a job. But to me, like, it's a good excuse, it's a valid excuse, but it's not going to get me to where I want to go. So I can't settle. Like for me, that's just me and my thinking. Like I can't stop. I can't put it on hold, because then it stays still, and when it's still, it doesn't move, and when it doesn't move, it dies.
Dies.
And that particular stress keeps you on edge.
Yeah, for sure.
Your craft. And so cool, bro.
So it's like, and I'm not gonna lie, there are days where like I'm really wanting to get a job, and there are days where I'm really like, am I good enough to continue this work? But the best way to go about it, at least that I've found so far, is just to keep working. Whenever there's outside noises, that outside noise or there's outside questions come in, just keep your head down and keep working. Just stay prepared.
Man, sure. Also, and that brings me to that question. I think you've touched on it a bit, and it's like, right. What's the outside noise been like during your journey? Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, I don't hear it. That's I'm going back to tunnel vision. Like, I understand that it's around. And there's pros and cons to not hearing it. One, I think it's important that everyone learns how to accept compliments. I think it's important that people learn how to say thank you and live in being thanked. Because that's something that I struggle with even now. Like, I really try to be present and saying thank you. But yeah, and in terms of like outside noises and like things that might slow me down or comments and things like that, I don't hear it. Like, I'm too busy trying to work on the next thing. And yeah, like I'm always alone, you know what I mean? So like, at least if I'm in a bunch of people, I'd always be thinking to myself about what's the next move forward.
That's good.
Yeah, man.
That's good, because we live in a culture where a lot of people go, man, don't worry about the haters, or like love your haters, because they're the ones that fuel you.
Yeah.
And but like, man, like I've been thinking about it lately. It's like, man, we concentrate so much on the haters. It takes away our energy.
Yo.
So like, instead of I like what you do. You block out the noise, block out the. You don't even think about it, but you like for me, I concentrate on the ones that are around me that are for me. The
100.
everyone, the outside noise, they didn't get the time.
Yo.
Because I don't want that energy going there.
Yeah, for real. And I think it goes back to environment. Like, if you purposefully sort of scroll through comments that are hateful, you know what I mean? Sometimes the best thing to do is cut it off. If you ingest a lot of it, it'll stay in your mind a lot of the time. I'm really grateful that I haven't come across a lot of hate as of yet. Touch wood.
It's gonna come.
It's gonna come.
Because as you grow,
Yeah,
it's gonna come.
it's gonna come. But I think
Probably after Mendy, it'll come. No.
Nah, take it down. Nah. But I know that's a challenge for me in the future. For now, I just want to be present in what I'm doing now.
Moments.
And then when it comes, it'll come. But yeah, I think, what was I gonna say? I just understand. I try to understand where everyone comes from. There's a lot of hate. There might be criticism just told in a different way, told in a more negative way. And yeah, that's all good. Like, to me, that's all good. You know what I mean? I probably wouldn't even pay too much attention to it. Yeah, I don't know. I just love learning, man, and I love doing, and I love making. And if it doesn't progress me forward, or if it doesn't propel me forward, then I probably won't see it.
Yeah, you're right. You just don't give them the time of day, hey? Just don't give them the time of day.
Yeah.
Especially the negative ones. And I think, well, maybe you can talk about it as well, Charles. Maybe those who, you know, in terms of the goals that they have and then the inspirations that they have, and maybe some individuals, some men need some affirmation, and so they kind of look for those comments like, oh man, I want to hopefully for some likes, and then they get bitterly disappointed when they see that just that one negative comment.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
And so I think it goes down to your vision, and what your purpose, like you're saying, your purpose.
Exactly. And I think it's hard because I wish that everyone gave the same amount of gravitas to hate. Well, I feel like everyone felt the same amount of power that they get from hate through comments of love. You know what I mean? Like, I really wish that the comments that do support you, I really wish people feel just as affected by that as they do with hateful comments. But there's something about negative comments that really cause a sort of like black hole, that kind of sucks you in.
That's weird.
But sometimes I just have to remember that if someone gives you a compliment, they've thought about the compliment, and it comes from the same place, comes from the same heart as someone that would say it from a dark place, I guess. So I try to give it that much power. I try to give all of those supportive comments that much power. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Man, it does. It's good, man. No, it does.
It's just sad that it doesn't work out that way sometimes,
Yeah. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's depending on the person who's giving you the compliments. Sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
You want to make sure that it's the actual compliments, not one of those. You know, sometimes.
Yeah.
Hey man,
Exactly.
you're awesome, man. Awesome, awesome, and then they turn around like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But a lot of it would be just being confident in yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you're confident in yourself, you wouldn't have to look other places for affirmations. Yeah. And I think that just, for me, reaffirms why I'd love to keep working, and I love to keep my head down and stay active.
Yeah, man, stay active.
Do you feel pressure that you have to make it, or like
I guess so.
Is there expectation from others that?
I guess.
Or not really.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I'm not really doing it for others though. You know what I mean? Like in a
That's good,
in
man.
that way. Like I definitely would do it for, like, there's a part of me that would do it because they've showed so much support, and I want to show people that their support didn't go to waste.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not doing it to please anyone. A lot of why I'm in the work that I'm in really is because I love this idea of playing. Like, I love playing different characters if I'm acting, and when I'm on stage, I love playing with the crowd, their whole conductor stuff. You know what I mean? So like, if that's not the first thing, in terms of reasons as to why I'm doing it, then I feel like I've lost my way. If I'm doing it to be a certain celebrity or, you know what I mean? Then I feel like I've lost my way, and I'm not keen to. I feel like I'm always grounded by the want to tell stories.
That's awesome. And regardless if you make it or not, it doesn't define who you are then.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, me.
So it doesn't affect me as much. Yeah.
So good, Oos.
Shout out, yo.
Just why I'm excited for you, bro. Honestly, I'm honestly excited for you because, the world's your oyster. You have this, you know who you are and you know where you want to go, and you're still open to learn. And you're forever evolving. So, man, I can't wait to see where you are in a year, 2 years, 5 years time, because it's just the beginning. And who knows? You might get an epiphany and end up running for mayor or something.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Hey, oh man.
And the next minute you're a fighter. Sorry.
Who knows, man?
Who knows?
Oh, that's the one thing I wanted to be, man. I can't even lift weights anymore, man. Still gotta work on it, man. Nah, crack up. Nah, I appreciate it, Oos. Thank you. I'm still working. That's what I say. I'm still working. So
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Just reiterate what Giles say, bro. You know, it's sometimes rare. I don't know if it's rare, but in terms of some of our young cats like yourself, you know, who's you know on the outskirts, you know, you really want to push yourself. You know, you're refining yourself, you're evolving, and I think the biggest learning tonight is you just want to learn. You just want you're constantly learning. You know, some people might think, you know what, just have a break. You know, it's time for a rest now. But you said no, and your wants. I like that analogy. That hey, this is what I want, but no, this is not what I want. This is what I need. So you fully immerse yourself in your performing arts and your creativity. I think that's quite wonderful, and it's incredible that someone as young as you, just really paving the way. You know, and it's cool. That's cool. I reckon it's so cool, man. And just your mindset and also just the way you think is outstanding. Also, so like, man, all the best, man. You know, all the best.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
But I got to ask you. So, out of all the like so far your films and also the dance, which one has brought you the most satisfaction? Which one?
Yeah. Oh man, I'm gonna go with this one. It might change, but it was my very first short film. It was my very first film, actually. It was a film called My Friend Michael Jones. That was with Samson and Ian Leo Pepe. Because there was so much learning in that. For me, it was a massive jump in the deep end for me. Just because it was my first time on film, I didn't know how to approach sort of like acting for film as opposed to theatre. Also, like, I had to learn how to flip. It's crack up because I had to learn how to backflip for that film, and I'm really afraid of doing any sort of flip, to be honest. And so, for some reason, I was just like, yeah, nah, you know what? Let's keep it in the script. I'm gonna try and do it. And so they organized for us to learn how to do it at a gym called Flips. I think it's called Flips, or at least that's what they called it. And Samson and a few others, Phoenix was there, Tony Patti. We just had like a few sessions where we're like, sweet, flip me around. And man, it was scary, man. Like I didn't manage to do it confidently leading up to the actual shoot. And then it came to the actual day. We're at Tangaroa College and we're in the hall and everyone's already around. There's a camera there. I've been like sort of like practicing in my head and sort of like did a couple of runs throughout the day. Then I had to do it. And I just remember like freaking out. And then I bailed once and they're like, okay, sweet, we're trying to split the sort of choreographic scene into two. And I knew, I just felt the air in the room. Like I felt everyone just like, this is a risky shot. We might not get it. And I was like, there's a part of me that was like, I could either stop here and just let it sort of like change, or I could try and go for this flip. And I remember in my head, I was like, if I break my neck, I'm still going to do it. So like, I remember in the choreography of that scene, we only had it in one take, But I jumped, and I remember seeing the top of the roof, and I was just like, just tuck the legs, and I remember just crunching the legs, and then I landed it, and this was the only shot they got in the film. And I remember it was 4 seconds of stillness, and then Tony runs in and hugs me, and then everyone runs around and hugs me. But for me, that was a massive metaphor. It was your brain's the only thing that was stopping you. And I feel that for me, after that, I felt mean. I felt invincible. I was filled with so much gratitude, man, and so much hype that I did it. I was so proud of myself, you know what I mean? It was one of the few times, it's sad that I say that, but it's one of the few times where I really felt proud of myself in that moment. And so that is forever etched into my memory, that film taught me so much.
Ooh,
that's awesome.
Man, I love her.
Oh, and because after you said that question, made me think about your role on the Panthers.
Oh, bro, yeah, man.
What was that like? Because meeting
scary.
you, you're very opposite to the character you played.
What are you trying to say, man?
So where did you draw from? Who did you draw from?
So, because that was scary, because that was my first time working with, playing a real person that's still alive. So Fa'amoana or Fuf was still. I was grateful to have a meeting with him. I had a 1 hour talk with him just before we shot all of Panthers. And he was really cool because for me, I was nervous. I'm playing a real dude, you know? I'm playing someone's life. And there was something that he said to me that made me sort of relax. And he said, just remember, you're only playing a version of the character. So trust yourself and do what feels right. And I was like, bro, stuff you, man. And he's like, do you want a cigarette? I was like, but it was mean. He really gave me he really just sort of passed the ball to me and was like, it's just however you want to play is however you want to play. And I was like, sweet. There was so much material on him. Yeah. And there's so much that I wanted to play with even more. I was real curious around so much, and that a lot of for me, a lot of the fun stuff happened before we even shot, because that was the stuff where I was figuring out his mannerisms, how he could talk in this, you know what I mean, all of his stuff, his wants and needs during that time of his life. And it's weird because even now I'd like to go back and do it again, and I feel like I'd come out and with a different result. But yeah, man, that was such a fun time. I feel like I didn't fully realize my version of him until the last episode. But it's so fun, man. It's so fun.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
Yeah, I'm keen to do it again, you know? I try and I take all of those learnings and I apply it to the next one, and then same thing. I just accumulate. But yeah.
That's cool, man. Was there a particular line or specific line you kind of enjoyed? Yeah.
Oh man, it's 2 years ago now. But there's a line where in the last episode where he gets arrested. That's a spoiler for everyone that hasn't seen it yet. But he gets arrested, and it wasn't even in the script. But the cops are talking to Will, and they're saying something about can you guys hurry it up? And then he has a line about oh yeah, you know what? We can go stop off. Oh, he says something you know what? Can we just stop off to the bakery and get cream buns? But for now, just shut up. For some reason, that line it wasn't even in the script. The last part, and I was like, bro, I wonder if they're gonna use it. And then I saw in the final thing, I was like, oh, mean. But for some reason, that sticks with me, man. Because it's crack up. Because I think thinking about it now, you hardly see the boys talk to the cops. Or at least Fulf doesn't talk to the cops. So that was sort of my first interaction where you see it. Good jokes. That's apart from Jordan's character. But yeah, it was buzzy having all of those sort of preloaded thoughts at the back of me before we even shot that scene. And to know what comes out naturally or what feels right naturally. And I feel that whole scene just sticks with me, to be honest. But that line always gets me.
It's just you improvising ages.
Bro, it's bad. You probably shouldn't improvise that much, but bro, yeah.
That's what we do.
Improvise, man. I'm just grateful, the directors of that scene. That was who directed that one? That was Chris and Mario. They were just real open to what came of that scene. So I was like, thank you. Let's just have a play. I love playing, man, and just seeing what comes.
Because I'm just, thanks for bringing it up, Charles, because you would have gained, or you would have garnered a lot in terms of the learnings of the Polynesian Panthers, and also what had happened at that time and that era.
Yeah. I was really surprised that I didn't know that as much as I thought. Because before we shot it, obviously we had to do our own sort of research, and man, those times were really weird, really sad to hear about. Yeah, man, it's just like, it really was super bizarre. Just how blatantly racist it all was, you know what I mean? And to think about all of the families that would have had to suffer from that. I think about, like heaps of members of my family, and just imagining scenarios where, like, if it was to happen today, like, it's such a it's a weird one, man. It's so overwhelming to me. It's such a potent piece of history that I'm like, I'm glad that to be a part of that story. I guess
that's cool. There was a scene there where they had to is it siapo?
Yeah,
they had to hide her into the fridge. It's just because I've read the stories, I've seen pictures, but the way it was expressed or portrayed, I was going, bro, that happened.
Yeah, man.
That, like, you go through all this emotion, like, it pisses you off, and you can't believe that's part of our history. And it wasn't like a history like 100 years ago.
Yeah, it was recent. That's like 70s, right? So that's
70s.
Oh man, that's so recent, man. Like, that's a scary thought, man. Like, if I had to do that to my nana, like, when she was still alive, like, that is so heartbreaking, man. I honestly, I still can't really put the words to it. It's just, it's really bizarre. It's just really bizarre to me. That was a hard watch, Siapu. That was flip, man.
Shadows.
Yeah, shadows.
Yeah.
Sure, and our people are survivors, man. And we stand on their shoulders, the ones that did survive it, and especially the ones that were vocal and really sort of push for change and mobilize our communities to, that we weren't gonna settle for this crap anymore. And so shout out to the project, shout out to you guys for bringing this awareness, because not many people know, but I didn't learn about it until I went to uni.
Yo, Buzzy. Yeah, man. I didn't learn about it until I jammed that project. So, like, that's why I'm really grateful for all of that. It's like a weird grateful, because it's like I'm grateful to learn that, but real saddened to learn that. Yeah, man. But real grateful for the work of the Panthers,
And so what's your view now, like, in terms of, like, in your opinion, your perspective of those young men, and one of the characters that you played, those young men who kind of stood up and said, hey, we're not taking this anymore, and just have the guts to really stand up to the oppression. And so you look at those men in that era, and so and you look at some of the men in this era now, what's your take? How do you feel in terms of comparison? And not in a negative way, but how do you feel when you look at those guys compared to us in this day and age?
Yeah, I think it's almost sad. I feel like not much has changed. I feel like back then, it was great that we had a lot of people that understood how the system worked and understood what was going on. And they were putting in a lot of effort to make change. I feel like that sentiment's still relevant today, in which we have a lot of people still being activists in this day and age that are still, there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of things to save, and I don't know. I guess for me, it's like, oh man, there really isn't that much of a difference. maybe just the Don Raids part, but you know what I mean? What was cool about playing fourth was understanding his background and learning about the mindset of people in and out of boys' homes. Because I never really would have thought to think too much about, you know what I mean, like or understand what they were going through and the difficulties of those systems and being in and out of the system. And you know what I mean, like prison to them or like playing fourth, prison to him at that time was nothing. You know what I mean, like a lag was nothing. But understanding that him as a person today is still trying to change those systems and bring that awareness to people, and it's just really cool to see them stand up and speak their truth. And I think it's making a lot of difference now, and I'm hoping a lot of people listen. Yeah, I think that's it. You know what I mean? Like I think that's
cool.
a lot of like,
Cool, man.
And we're still fighting the same battles.
Yeah.
And
like that part's hard. Like to or at least from what I know or from what I've seen, that not much has changed from that front. But it's cool to see people back it more. It's cool to see that we're rallying behind it a bit more. And I can only just want to encourage that further and make sure that we kind of continue to create positive change, and I don't know, and things that kind of make as common sense to me, you know, like it's a weird one.
It's cool, man.
But, yeah.
Cool. Any last probing questions, Charles, or thoughts?
No, I'm just really excited. Like I keep on thinking about like the journey you're on and the potential that could come out of it, but also just excited for you that you're aware.
Oh, thank you.
You know, you're aware of the moments you are in and the moments that may come, and just taking each step as you go. And so, yeah, I guess my only question is like, what with our young viewers, our young men that trying to figure it out, and maybe speaking to the 18-year-old Vila, like what would you want to say to these youngins that are from the same area, that maybe have similar experiences that you have gone through, or some of the traumatic things that you've witnessed? Like, what do you want to say to those youngins?
Oh man, that's a loaded question, also.
Any loaded here on
yes, exactly. The one thing that I'd tell, I guess, 18-year-old me is let yourself fall, because if you learn how to make mistakes early, you'll realize it doesn't kill you, and it just means you can move on faster. And if you love making mistakes, you'll learn more. And this is me talking to like 18-year-old me. I'd say, if you truly want to learn more, then make mistakes fast. Just fall hard.
That's good.
Yeah, man. I feel like there's a lot. I don't know. Yeah.
That's powerful though, because our young ones now, we live because our generation are so protective of the next generation and our children. We want to protect them from making mistakes.
Yeah.
And so they avoid it because we've created this. I know.
Red tape. You're right.
This red tape, so they can't make mistakes. But then when they're faced with adversity, it's really tough for them to manage. And so, that's such good advice.
Yo, thank you. I don't actually. I feel like I'd be the same, which is crack up. But it's just something that I know that is. It's something I seek now, that I wished I seek.
Yeah.
I wished I sought when I was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crack up because I feel like I've been in your shoes as well. Like I'd still want to look out for my friends and family, and if I could keep them safe, I'd keep them safe. But yeah, I don't know, man. There's a beauty in making mistakes. I guess a mistake is only a mistake if it happens twice, though, right? So make sure you learn, I guess is the main one. Yeah, make sure you learn and bounce back.
That's awesome. That's cool. And I guess as we're on this conversation, like our encouragement for our parents and our adults, like, and I'm speaking to myself because my family will probably, what a liar, but allow your kids to make mistakes, give them the space to learn and grow, or otherwise we're the ones who are creating a generation that are not resilient. So,
yes, right on, yeah.
But if I'm wrong, sorry for being
No, yeah. That's spot on, yeah. Right, just allow our kids to breathe and allow our kids to experience all these different experiences, hey? And learn, like you said. I think the biggest thing, if you make a mistake, obviously you want to learn from the mistake, otherwise you're not learning if you're carrying on doing the same mistake.
Exactly,
but not make big mistakes, see?
Nah.
Just in case my kids are watching. I'll give you enough space to grow, but not too much space.
Yo. But yeah, man. Like, I feel like no rule is absolute. There's definitely some things that you can keep our kids safe from.
Cool.
But yeah, there's some things, there's some lessons that need to be learned in certain mistakes. Yeah, for sure.
That's cool.
Yeah, man. My Lord lover. So full. Man, you mentioned the gratitude, and also, Charles and myself are very grateful for you coming on. Man. Mad love, mad props, props.
Yeah, we get excited when our people are, carving up in their field, but more excited for this next generation and having young bucks come on, and people feel intimidated that we've got all these big names coming up, but every single person that we invite and that we tell a no with, we value. And you're not, what you end up doing is not who you are. Like, it's part of what you do, but we value the person that figuring it out as they go along. So,
I appreciate that, Oos.
Yeah, man.
That's cool because we're family too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, man. But hey, and Charles is right, absolutely right. And your story is priceless. People, someone whoever's watching or whoever's listening was like, oh man, I can take a lot from that. So, bro, thank you so much, also.
Thank you for having me. It's awesome, these spaces, because it's like these conversations don't usually come up in normal conversations. So it's cool for me to figure out as I was talking as well. So like, thanks for having me,
Oh,
that was really priceless, you know what I mean? Talking about all of it. And these guys are really welcoming, for all of the viewers out there that are like, I wonder how serious these conversations are. Yeah, it's really welcoming. So thank you guys.
Thank you also. And like everyone else that comes on, we always give them a gift and just to share our gratitude also.
Oh, real?
Yeah, so we always do a bit of a caricature or a sketch of our guests.
Oh, yeah.
So also, this is for you on behalf of the Mandate team.
Thank you.
Bless you, Bless you. Thank you so much, Jules.
Yeah.
Bro, thank you.
Thank you, team. Yes.
But is there anyone also that you can think of that would be grateful, or not grateful, but would be ideal to come on the podcast?
Yeah, man. Oh, man, I've had a long think about it. Samson was definitely at the top of my list. There was someone. He's my brother-in-law on my mom's side, but he owns a sort of like security firm. His name's Orion. I just thought he might have some stories that might be really good to talk about, because he's had a bit of a life himself, and he's doing a lot in the business sense. I don't know, thought he might be good to talk to.
Cool. Awesome.
Who else would be good? I guess the question is like, who else would you like to talk to, or like, is there anyone that you haven't talked to yet, or a kind of person that you haven't talked to?
Oh man, we got a list of men that we would love to come on the table, but I think it's all depending on in terms of time and who's available, but also I think it is just
who
just
the
timing.
people want.
Yeah, who the people want.
Because we pride ourselves being the podcast by the people for the people, and so when we ask, it's like this is what the people want. And so when people comment like, "Man, how about this young guy that's on the come up?"
Yeah,
and I go, "Oh yeah, this is what they want. We're gonna get him." And so and so this is for the locals. This is for our men that look up to people. These are for the people that look like us, that live in our proximity and that are carving up in their respective field, but also they don't have it all together, but they're still figuring it out.
Yeah,
and there's
man.
a pathway, these signposts. All the men that come here are signposts that there's another pathway. And then you're one of them also. And so every name that you've mentioned, man.
Yeah, man.
And every name that our guests mentioned, and every name that all our viewers commenting on, these are the ones that we chase. So.
Oh, shout shout fam. Yeah, sweet.
My Lord,
So maybe we'll get your dad on next.
Nah,
I love you. My man.
Nah, shot fam.
Nah, hey, but any last words of encouragement for our men also? Anything that you wanna just throw it out there?
Man. I don't know who needs to hear this actually. I was thinking about I was thinking about the path that I took, you know what I mean, in the arts, and I guess the chosen life that I decided to take was to live project by project and to be adamant. That's the path that I took. But again, I went down a downward spiral, thinking about my dad, and also thinking about my brother and my older brother in Oz, and the whole 9 to 5 thing. I think there's a weird stigma around, like, you know what I mean, get out of your 9 to 5 and do something else. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of, I don't know. I guess the thing that I want to say is, like, that's really hard to do a 9 to 5, and I'm really grateful for people that do 9 to 5s. And I hope that everyone that's doing a 9 to 5 is okay. Yeah, just because I know that my family are all going, you know what I mean? My family are all in it. And I feel like there are times where, like, I've been so passionate, I guess, about what I do that maybe I don't comment about it enough, about the 9 to 5. Yeah, I don't know. I just went on a weird random downward spiral one day thinking about sharks. All those guys. Well, my dad's been working at a glass tech factory since I was born, or probably even before that. So I know that guy's been heavy lifting all those years and doesn't complain about it. So I just want to say, I hope everyone that goes through that daily, I hope they're all good, you know?
Yeah.
I just want to leave that, I guess.
Me also. Thank you so much once again, Vila Lemanu. And guys, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and also comment. We look forward to your well thought out comments. And also props to you once again. And as usual, Charles,
refine,
unlock,
take charge.